viewers, this is Gopinath, your host of this show. Welcome to Health Tips on Pilupu TV. Today I'm very much honored to introduce Mr. Pramod Giri from ACE Physical Therapy Sports Medicine Institute to you all. Welcome, Pramod ji.
Thank you, Gopinath. Thank you so much for inviting me over. Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you. My pleasure, my honor.
Excellent. Before we go into the show and ask you plenty of questions about physical therapy and what you do, why don't you give your introduction, yourself, to our viewers?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me that chance to introduce myself first. My name is Pramod Giri, and I am from the city of Bombay, Mumbai as it is now known, and born, brought up there, but finished all my education there before I came here. And I must say this, it was my honor to get graduated from the first school of physical therapy in India, which was St. G.S. Medical College in KM Hospital. I take a lot of pride in naming myself from that college because that taught me a lot of good things, great teachers. And I've been here for the last 9 years now. I work for ACE Physical Therapy and I manage the Fairfax location. Happily married and settled with my wife, Urvi, right here in Fairfax. And here I am.
Awesome. So, how about some information about ACE Physical Therapy to our
Sure. So ACE Physical Therapy has been around since a long time. Almost 2006 is when we started out. And they have 8 locations, all in the Northern Virginia area. And so we are strategically placed in all the major suburbs. The one I'm at is Fairfax. And we are essentially a sports medicine institute. But then when you say sports medicine, it encompasses a huge spectrum of people and age groups and kinds of injuries. So, and now we're also branching into many other areas like women's health or pelvic health as we now call it. We also do neurological physical therapy, which is managing patients with stroke and cerebral palsy. So we're really branched out, and we're outpatient location. So we take a lot of insurances too.
Excellent. Nice to know about that. So, Mr. Pramod, so I have a few questions for you, and received some questions from our viewers.
Wonderful.
So before we go into most of those questions, let's start about what is physical therapy.
Excellent question, and a lot of times we are very confused about what physical therapy is. People generally relate to chiropractors very easily because they think they fix the spine in many ways. Physical therapy tends to be sometimes massage, sometimes exercise. But to give you a very good idea of what physical therapy is, that it is a non-invasive, which means we do not give any kind of medications. And that is a big thing because a whole lot of us suffer from one big problem, that's pain in various parts of the body. So physical therapy helps you to manage simple conditions like pain with non-invasive methods of exercises, posture correction, education, and also taking care of your environment in which you're working out. For example, it could be a gymnast, it could be a person at a workplace, or it could be somebody who is just, say, in the kitchen. But managing the environment, learning how to keep your posture, learning a few good exercises, how you keep yourself fit, that is what physical therapy is. We do use some modalities, as we call it. We use some electrical currents, ultrasound, and traction machines, and so on. But that's not the major thing. Now, there's one big component, and that's where we are very similar to chiropractors. We use our hands to actually feel and correct certain anomalies that might happen, say, in the way you're sitting in your spine or in your shoulder. And that can give you back your, for example, your range of motion, your flexibility, and also get back a certain strength in the right form, as we call it. So.
Great. Nice information. So you're talking about the postures. So what is the right posture?
Such a big question, isn't it? When you say, what is the right posture? Best thing is to ask the mother. The mother knows what the right posture is because they keep telling the child, sit up straight, look up straight. It's easier said than done many a times. I mean, very often we don't look at the aspect from the child or the adult in the workplace. There are so many constraints. So if you ask me what is the right posture, and we'll come to the description of a good posture later again in the show, but the way to answer the question is, a right posture is something that looks good. At the end of the day, if you don't have any aches and pains, you probably had a good posture. Even better is the next morning when you get up fresh and not tight in some parts of your body, you probably had a good posture. And one last way to complete that definition of a good posture is if you got all your work done, meaning you were productive, if you're efficient, and you didn't have any aches and pains. The same thing can be translated for an athlete.
Okay.
If you had a good posture while performing a certain routine, or in the gym when I was doing certain exercises, if you had the right posture, I won't hurt myself.
Right.
So that's the best way to define a good posture.
Okay. So you answered my second question too, which is why have a good posture?
Right.
So,
Actually,
yeah.
I put that thought process in a different way, and I was kind of looking over your questions before the show, and I said that this is a good way to put it in a separate part. We have to understand here that when we evolved from apes,
Right.
and that's the Darwin's theory, of course, we may have some controversial
Right.
opinions on it, but let's hold that for now. But when we evolved from apes, we went from being four-legged to two legs.
Right.
Now, when you go into two legs, posture becomes a big thing. Because now you're countering gravity. If you have to stay upright, and I have a little simple example here. If you have a pen here, and if I keep this on the armrest here, this is a great posture. It needs no energy, it is stable on that surface. But the minute I tilt it even slightly, now I need some support. You might have seen a telephone operator's pole. They have these three anchors that holds them together to prevent the wind forces, etc. But that's the same thing that happens. That if you tilt even slightly off a good posture, now your muscles have to hold you back into a good posture.
Right.
And that means you're spending a whole lot more energy, you're going to become achy in those muscles and so on. So that's the best way to define what a good posture is. Is when you spend the least energy and you're most efficient in what you're doing. So that is why I thought I should keep that as a separate outlook.
Yeah, thank you. That was a good explanation, sir. So, why is it challenging to have a right posture?
I think the first and biggest, let's say the biggest reason for posture to be challenged is lack of awareness. And why does that come in? Because if I were to ask you to sit up, by the way, you're having great posture right now.
Thank you.
That's because we are relaxed, we are not having any work in that sense.
Right.
But the minute I put you in a stressful environment, let's say at work, and your boss is giving you deadlines to finish, are you going to be sitting in the back of the chair? No, you're probably going to be sitting here, you're going to throw yourself forward, you want to look busy, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing, the stress. Same thing happens to a school child who's either finishing his homework at home or in the classroom.
Right.
They are distracted, that is a part. But there are many other reasons, and one among them is stress.
Right.
Now, there is a whole lot of other reasons that a physical therapist can help you with, and I will name a few and you will relate to it. Let's say your hamstrings are tight. Now, hamstring is the muscle behind the leg, all of us know that. If you can't touch your toes, hamstring is tight.
Right.
Can you believe if that is tight, you cannot maintain a good posture? Because that's going to pull you in a certain way. So simple things, even if you tell a child, oh, have a good posture, he can't do it because his hamstrings are tight.
Right.
Now, if we had, kind of evaluated that, maybe asked your physical therapist, or now that your viewers know about it, check your hamstring tightness and you probably will know why you don't have a good posture. So we're not aware of certain few things. And one other big reason is, of course, lack of strength. When your muscles are weak, and very often you'll know, let's say you've come off a little prolonged illness, even a fever, let's say for 2-3 days.
Right.
How do you generally sit? Do you sit upright? We don't. That's lack of strength. There are a few other reasons also. For example, traditionally we used to have an 8-hour workday.
Right.
I don't know, the last time I worked 8 hours, we work a whole lot more these days, 12, 13, 15 hours now. There's a lot of fatigue involved. When you get tired, the last thing that's going to come to your mind is sitting upright. Because it gets very difficult for your muscles to cope for that longer time.
Right.
And this is something very critical, and I will be talking about it later in the show too. And that's the standards of operation in a workspace.
Okay.
We don't have or have not traditionally changed from a desk and a chair. Even our classrooms is the same old bench and a desk.
Right.
We have not changed our work environment at all. So the standards of operation in these places is another big reason why we have a problem with the posture.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. So, by the way, does this have anything in close relation to yoga?
Makes sense, right? Yoga is all about pose,
Right.
When we say yoga or asana, it's a pose. Now, yoga means a whole lot of other things, and I'm sure the viewers know about it. It's a way of life, apart from exercises and breathing.
Right.
But essentially, it's a pose. And I also, by the way, also like to say posture is not just about how you sit. Posture is how you behave too.
Right.
And there is a good posture.
Right.
So there is a whole lot of meaning to posture.
Right.
But yoga has a big correlation with it because yoga gives you the right form.
Right.
If you ever go to a yoga studio, and nowadays we have yoga classes every gym, they emphasize form in a big way. And what is form? Posture.
Right.
So yoga has a lot to do with posture, and physical therapists utilize yoga in their exercise methods.
Okay.
If anybody, viewers have ever been to physical therapy, they might have related to some of the exercises being very close to yoga.
Right.
So I think it's pretty integrated.
That's great. So before we go into the next question, so why not take a quick break?
Oh, thank you.
అమెరికాలోని మొట్టమొదటి తెలుగు ఛానల్ పిలుపు యాజమాన్యానికి పిలుపు ప్రేక్షకులకందరికీ కూడా మనస్ఫూర్తిగా శుభాకాంక్షలు తెలియజేస్తున్నాను.
వాషింగ్టన్ డీసీ మెట్రో ఏరియాలో మొట్టమొదటి తెలుగు సెగ్మెంట్ పిలుపు మొట్టమొదటి టీవీ షో.
So welcome back, Pramod ji.
Thank you.
So we have heard some good information about physical therapy and postures. Thanks for that. And I also have a few more questions for you. So could you describe a good posture at work? Let's say office worker on desktop or a laptop.
Big question, and we will not be able to fill in the entire amount of information, and I will leave behind tips at the end of the show as to how you can talk to your physical therapist, find out the right posture for you. But before I actually get into what a good posture is, let me also talk about a few challenges specifically to the worker at his workplace, essentially working on a computer or laptop. By the way, there was a nice little joke that came out in the Washington Post. It was a cartoon quip, and it said that 70% of the world's population has neck pain. The remaining 30% don't have gadgets, which means pretty much all the 100% of the population who has a gadget. Now, who doesn't have a gadget? Either we are on our cell phones, iPads, laptops, desktops, and sometimes two screens.
Right.
It's kind of it's a wired world.
Right.
So it becomes challenging to suggest a posture for every other nuanced areas of work. But having said that, we will talk about a couple of situations. Let's say one is at work, school, and we can also talk at home because a lot of people work from home. Shouldn't be working from home, but anyway. So we will talk about that too. So I will get back on that and we'll see how that works.
What if we can't maintain a good posture? What happens?
This is where physical therapists get a whole lot of employment.
Okay. Yeah.
So it works in my favor for people not to have a good posture, but that's in a lighter vein.
Right.
We do talk of prevention a whole lot, and I think this is something that we need to be very serious about.
Right.
Because what we don't realize, let's say around the age of 7 or 8 in a child, that's when posture really starts becoming an issue.
Right.
Because at that time you have a growth spurt, as we call it. We'll be talking a little more about all these things a little later again. But when you have a growth spurt, which means that you're starting to grow, your muscles get tight. Right. You may not have the necessary find out is what all the problems that can happen when you don't.
Okay.
So starting at that age, you can have an unnatural curve in your spine which will not go away. Once it's structural, meaning once it's fixed in your spine, by the age of 15 or 16, you cannot get rid of it. In fact, let me give out a story in our physical therapy practice. We had a gentleman who came to us at the age of 23 or 24 years old, and he wanted to go into the Air Force. Now, the Air Force has a strict requirement about posture.
Okay.
Interesting. So they have a thing. Now, this gentleman had a curve in his spine, and you can measure the curve on X-rays. And so he had a 33 degrees of curve,
Okay.
which is quite a bit, by the way. It should be 0 ideally, but it was 33 degrees off the center. The cutoff for Air Force to be a pilot was 30 degrees. Now, he missed out by 3 degrees. And he came to us at the age of, he had no pain, by the way, lucky for him, but he had no pain. But he could not qualify, and he was asking us if we could get back those 3 degrees. There is no way you can straighten the spine once you're past 16 or 18 years of age, once the body has fully formed. So that's one of those problems that you can see. Now, having a bad posture is having like a bad habit.
Right.
Once you have it, it's very difficult to change. So the next biggest problem is when you get into college and say higher education in school, you're so down with assignments that you're not going to worry about your posture. So that starts your neck and back pain. Now, at that time, it is still very simple. It's just a muscle ache. It's just a little tiredness. And again, we ignore it because, life is more important at that time than posture.
Right.
By the age of the 30s or 40s, now that starts giving rise to what we call as disc problems. You might have heard of disc issues or prolapsed discs.
Right.
And guess where? It comes from bad posture.
Right.
If I had an efficient posture, like I had said earlier, the pressure on the disc is going to be minimum. Right? If you remember my analog of the pen. Basically, when you're sitting upright, there is less pressure on the disc. disc. But when you're stooped over, there's more pressure on the disc. So there starts your disc problems, which also will start giving rise to what is called as a pinched nerve. A lot of times we get pain in the neck going down the shoulder, in the shoulder blade area. What is that? It's a pinched nerve. Guess where it comes from? Back posture. And you probably realize it yourself many a times at the workplace, and you sit upright because it was hurting. What if we could have just maintained it? And finally, and if I go further into the age spectrum, and again people will relate to this, you will find a person when he walks, and you can see them at the airports and bus stations, you can see them, they're walking with a stoop posture. Now they can't straighten up ever. And they have what is called as stenosis, and just to give you a quick understanding of what that is, it is a pain that I cannot get rid of. It takes a lot of effort to get rid of the pain. And the patients end up having surgery. Surgery is also not a great option many a times. So people are living with pain. So what started out as a simple thing can lead to a whole lot of problems. And I didn't even talk about the fact that it doesn't look aesthetic. I mean, if you look at a person who comes from the army or the military background, you see how smart they look, right? So you don't look smart when you don't have a good posture. It's not very aesthetic. So your productivity goes down, you're not efficient in your work. So these are all the problems you can see with posture. It sounds a little catastrophic, but yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's plenty of information. So let's take a small break, and we'll be back after a break. Welcome back, Pramod ji. So we were talking about maintaining good posture, and we talked about some of those people who have those problems and some stories. So how can a physical therapist help?
Great, and that's why I'm here. So the idea of physical therapy in terms of helping, we really pride ourselves in preventing problems. And so first and foremost is we educate our patients, understanding what a good posture is. So that is our first thing. We bring awareness. We give you a chart. We give you a picture as to what a good posture looks like. The second thing is evaluating each person's problems. Like I said, sometimes it could be a tightness, sometimes it could be a weakness. Find out with your physical therapist what is lacking. And you don't have to necessarily have a problem to go to your physical therapist. You can go like a routine check, like you go to a primary care physician to check your blood work. The other thing you can do is follow up with the physical therapist. So you've got certain tips. Follow up, okay, I'm working on this and I find certain changes, but I'm still having problems with certain areas. And the next thing that a physical therapy does is that if you do have a problem, they take a few sessions. Sometimes a month is good enough. 4 to 6 weeks on an average is a great period of time to work with your physical therapist to change fundamentally what was wrong. Something that is tight, something that's weak, can be corrected in about 4 to 6 weeks. So your physical therapist can be your guiding beacon, as I call it. And don't hesitate. We have something called as direct access, which means that you don't have to go to your primary care physician in case you know you have some issue that can be dealt with the physical therapist. So you can call them, consult with them, and if they feel, oh no, there is something else that is going on, they can refer you back to a doctor or a specialist in case they feel that is a need. So that's where we come in.
Awesome. So we still have plenty of questions, and we will cover those questions in the next session. And thank you very much for coming to the studio and Pilipu studio and giving plenty of information to our Pilipu TV viewers. I'm sure they would really appreciate this, you for providing this information to us. So before we wrap up the show for today, any quick suggestions and to our viewers, and your information also to our viewers?
We are so happy to be here. Number one, I was talking to our management team, and they were very happy that you all invited us. Thank you, Pilipu TV, for inviting us. You all have done some amazing work through the medium of the electronic medium that you're in to convey to your viewers. And I have also heard this, that they're doing a great service in terms of bringing people together. Thank you for doing that for us, and I'm happy that we could share some of that information to you all. Our contact information is at our website www.ace-pt.org, and feel free to call us. Like I said, we have something called as direct access, and make an appointment, and we'll be more than glad to help you out. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Pramodji, for coming to our studios, and it's an honor to introduce you to our community. And I'm sure our community will appreciate all the information you provided. Thank you, Pilupu TV viewers, for supporting us since the beginning, and we really appreciate your support. And stay tuned. We'll be back with many more questions and much information about ACE Physical Therapy, Sports Medicine Institute, and much information about the postures and everything. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pramodji.
Thank you, Gopinath. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.